Hi everyone, and welcome to this video on how to solve two-step equations. Now we call it two-step because there are two steps to perform until we can get to our answer. And with all equations, what I've written here, our aim is to take, no matter what we have at the start here, every time you go up a level it gets a little bit more confusing, but get down to here. What is x equal to? So that's our journey. It's the same for everything. But we're going to come back to this question in just a second, but we're going to look at a slightly different one first of all. So what we want to do is, we say we have four terms here. What I mean by that is, as soon as we have a plus or a minus, we create terms. So here's the first term, 5x. The 2 is the second term. The 3x is the third term. And the minus 10 is the fourth term. So we currently have four terms. But our first step of the two steps is to get it down to three terms. So what could we ask? So have a think about that. Pause the video, see if you can come up with all the different questions we could ask to take this equation from four terms to three terms. Okay, hopefully you had a go at that. And the first one we're going to try and remove is the 5x. So if I was to do that, I would have to subtract 5x to both sides. So if I wanted to rewrite this, the first thing I'm going to do is put my equal sign and look at the left hand side. So the 5x, well, if I'm taking away 5x, that's going to go, and I'd be left with this 2. I'm not doing anything to it, and there would be the 2. The right hand side, I would have 3x take away 5x, that's going to give me a negative 2x, and I'm not asked to do anything with the number term, so there we have it. Okay, what else could I have done? Well, I could have got rid of the plus 2. So to get rid of a plus 2, I'll be minusing 2. So on the left hand side, I wouldn't be touching the 5x. The right hand side, the 2 will go. Sorry, the left hand side, the 2 will go. On the right hand side, we're not touching any of the x's. But be careful with your negatives here. You would end up with minus 12. Okay, let's have a look at this one, the 3x. To get rid of 3x, well, I could minus 3x to both sides. And what would that look like? Well, the 5x would become a 2x. The plus 2 would stay as it is. The right hand side, the x's would go, and the left hand, and the minus 10, sorry, it would stay as it is. Okay, final one. You could have added 10. Okay, so you can see I've changed the sign now. And that's because the other three, they're positive, so to remove it, I have to subtract. This is a negative term, so to remove it, I have to add 10. And what would we have here? So we'd have 5x, the x's wouldn't change, plus 12, and that would be equal to 3x. So there are four different approaches. All of them are correct mathematically, but only one of them is what every maths teacher out there would say is the easiest step. And it is the one I drew longer, just so it stands out. It's this one. Now, what we've created is something that you hopefully recognize and already can do. This is a one-step equation. There's only one step really that you need to do to get to your answer. And what we've done is we've removed the x term first. Okay, that's every maths teacher out there would tell you, always remove the x term first. No matter how many times I say that, often pupils go for either this option or this option. And it causes so many problems, so please listen to this and always remove the x term first. Now, we could have removed this one, but what we end up with is a negative amount of x's, which isn't useful. So we're always going to remove the least amount of x's. No matter what side it's on, whichever has the fewer amount of x's, we're going to get rid of that. So let's go back to that first question. So what could we ask to go from four terms to three terms? Well, that's all well and good now, but we need to go a bit more sophisticated. So we need to collect the x's on one side and the side that has the most. So we need to remove the x's to make it go from four terms to three terms, but which one shall we remove? And it's going to be this one, because there's the least, or the fewest. So how do we remove 2x? We subtract it. So what I like to do is put minus 2x underneath the x terms. Some people write it in the middle. You're opening yourself up for problems. So put your equals in a line. So you have your left hand side and your right hand side. So 5x take away 2x is 3x. And the 1 we're not changing. There's nothing underneath it. The 2x's are going to go, and then we have 13. Okay, so we've got all the x terms on one side. Mission accomplished. Now, when you did these before, you would have been told x is on one side and your number terms, so we have two of them, on the other side. Well, if the x's are on the left, the number term needs to be on the right. So click the number terms on the other side, it probably should have said. So how are we going to do that? Well, we've got a positive 1, so we're going to subtract 1 to both sides. So put the -1 underneath the number terms because they're like terms. Equals, in a line. The 3x, nothing's happening. The 1 is going to disappear, and the 13 is going to become a 12. Okay, so we've done one step, two steps. That's why it's called a two-step equation. And it could be called a 3, but we don't really classify this as a step because it's super mega easy. So we've got 3 x's. We're going to divide by 3 to both sides, and we would have 12 divided by 3 gives us 4. Okay, so we're going to just do exactly the same, quite a few. We're going to talk about some of the pitfalls and some of the difficulties people have. But we need to go from 4 terms to 3 terms, and we need to collect the x's on one side. That's our first thought process. Okay, we have 7, we have 2. This is the least. Let's get rid of that. We're going to subtract 2x from both sides. That would give me 5x, take away 3, and 22. Now, what I don't want to see, especially this early on, is people skipping any working. If it doesn't look as good as mine, it's not good enough. Very simple. Okay, so now we're going to, the x's are on one side. Check. Now we need to get the number terms on the other. So we're going to go from 4 terms to 3 terms to 2 terms, and here are the number terms. Well, if the x's are on the left, this number term needs to disappear. So we're going to add 3 to make it go. That means we have to add 3 to this side, otherwise it's no longer equal to. So we're going to have 5x on the left and 25 on the right. Well, 5x's are 25. We can work out what x is by dividing by 5. 25 divided by 5 is 5. Okay, let's have a look at another one. These are always the same, and I'm going to make it a little bit harder in a minute. Right, 4 terms to 3 terms. And we must collect the x's on one side. So here are my x's. Again, this one is the least. So we've got 3x. Let's take it away to both sides. And I would have equal sign, so left side and right side. 6x, take away 3. The x's are going to go on the right hand side, and I end up with 33. I have 2 number terms. They need to be on the other side to the x's, so they need to be on the right hand side. So I'm going to add 3 to remove it, do that to both sides, equals in a nice line, 6x on the left and 36 on the right. So now to finish off, divide by 6 to both sides, and we will end up with 6. So I must say, I would never ever write this off like that. I wish they weren't written. It would be underneath like so. So I'm just going to do that on every one of these we do. Okay, slightly different. So 4 terms to 3 terms, and there's x's on both sides, so we need to get them onto 1. That's our first step. Right, there are my x terms. So I've got 5x and I've got minus 3x. Well, this has the most, so we're going to get rid of that. But you can see this one is ever so slightly different because we have a minus. We haven't experienced that yet. So to get rid of the minus, it's going to be add. So it's not always take away amount of x's. Sometimes it can be add. So first thing I write is my equal sign, and I will have 8x on the left plus 1 and just 17. That one's done. Number terms need to be on the other side. So here are my number terms. The 1 needs to go because the x's are on the left, so we're going to minus 1 from both sides. Equals, what will we have? On the left we'd have 8x, and on the right we'll have 16. So to finish off, we would divide by 8 to both sides because we have 8 x's, we only want one of them, and that would give us an answer of 2. Okay, this one's again slightly different. Where are x terms? Here and here. The x's need to be on one side, but this time this side has the least. So we're going to get rid of the 3x by subtracting it. To both sides, write your equals. On the left hand side, we're going to have 14. On the right hand side, we now have 4x plus 2. Okay, so that one's check. Okay, so the number terms need to be on the other side. This is the important word. Well, here are my number terms, but they need to be on the other side to the x. So they need to be on this side. So this time, we need to get rid of the minus 2. So we have on the left, 12. On the right, just 4x. Now, people that disobey every maths teacher out there and do the numbers first, they end up quite often in this stage with everything on one side. They lose the equals, they lose the equation completely, and they get very confused. So please follow my advice and every other maths teacher out there. And if your maths teacher doesn't tell you to do that, then I wouldn't, just do what I say. Right, so divide by 4 to both sides. And we would have x to be 3. Now at this point I would probably have written it around that way because I just don't like seeing it that way. So it's up to you. But it doesn't matter which side it's on. Left is equal to right. It doesn't matter. Okay, here's another one. So 4 terms down to 3. X's on one side. So which side has the least? Now loads of people go for the left here. But the right hand side actually has a negative 5x. That's a lot smaller than 3. So we need to get rid of this side first. So that's a problem that people often get wrong. So we actually need to add 5x to both sides to get rid of the x's on the right. And that will give us 8x add 2 is equal to 26. So the x's are on the left this time, so the number terms, these two, need to be on the right hand side. So we need to get rid of the plus 2, and we're going to do that by subtracting 2 to both sides. Equals in a line, 8x only on the left, 24 on the right. Divide by 8 to both sides, and we have x to be 3. Okay, I think that is the last one. So plenty of examples there. You just need to go and practice. We're only adding on this step to what you can already do, so you shouldn't find it too hard. Best of luck.